Do you want to buy a car in Mumbai? Get a parking spot first. The Maharashtra government is considering a game-changing rule, which means that you can't purchase a vehicle without being able to first prove that you have a place to park it. So here's how this proposal is supposed to work. Local authorities will first issue a certified parking area certificate to confirm that buyers have a designated parking spot. Now, this spot can either be a public spot or a private spot. This certificate must be submitted at the time of registering the vehicle, ensuring that parking availability is accounted for in advance. Now, Transport Minister Pratap Sarnaik has announced this move as an attempt to tackle traffic congestion in cities where often emergency services like ambulance and fire brigades face roadblocks due to haphazard parking. He has just spoken exclusively to my colleague Srishti. Listen into an excerpt.
Hello, sir.
हाँ बोलिए
सर, पार्किंग रिलेटेड आप पॉलिसी इंप्लीमेंट करने की कोशिश करने वाले हैं। ये पॉलिसी जो है आगे जाके इंप्लीमेंट होगी। मुंबई शहर के ट्रैफिक कंजेशन को कम करने के लिए आप ये पॉलिसी लाने वाले हैं। क्या एग्जैक्टली ये पॉलिसी रहेगी?
देखिए, ये तो पॉलिसी जरूरी है क्योंकि दिन ब दिन मुंबई और ठाणे जो एमएमआर रीजन है उसके जो रास्ते हैं वो जाम होते जा रहे हैं। ट्रैफिक की समस्या बहुत बड़े पैमाने पे है और ठाणे से मुंबई जाने के लिए कभी कभी 2 से 3 घंटे लगते हैं। तो ये परिस्थिति बराबर नहीं है क्योंकि रेलवे का ये परिस्थिति भी अच्छी नहीं है। बहुत बड़े पैमाने पे रेलवे जाम होती है। मेट्रो अभी हम लोग ने दे दी है सर्विस लोगों को, मगर फिर भी रास्ते की जो ट्रैफिक है वो कम नहीं हो रही है। तो हमने ऐसा डिसाइड किया कि जो कार लोन देने वाली कंपनी है वो बहुत बड़े पैमाने पे किसी को भी कार लोन दे देती है और इसके लिए हर आदमी का सपना रहता है कि चलो मेरे घर में भी 4 व्हीलर होनी चाहिए। तो आगे का सोचता नहीं है मगर वो कार लोन ले लेता है और उसके बाद में गाड़ी रखने के लिए जगह नहीं होती है तो रास्ते पे गाड़ी वो खड़ी कर देता है। उसकी वजह से ट्रैफिक की समस्या बड़े पैमाने पे हो रही है और खासकर सोसाइटीज में अगर 1 BHK कोई फ्लैट लेता है तो एक गाड़ी की रखने के लिए जगह नहीं रहती है मगर वो 2 गाड़ी रहता है। 2 BHK लेने वाला 4 गाड़ी लेता है। तो उस सोसाइटी में या उस सोसाइटी के आसपास के रास्तों पे अगर एम्बुलेंस जाना है या फायर ब्रिगेड की गाड़ी जानी है उसके लिए भी जगह नहीं मिलती है। तो ये भविष्य में बहुत बड़े पैमाने पे लोगों को ट्रैफिक की समस्या होने वाली है और बाकी की भी समस्या का सामना करना है। तो हम ये सोच रहे हैं कि जिसके पास पार्किंग की व्यवस्था हो उसके लिए सोसाइटी के प्रीमाइसेस में पार्किंग प्लाजा में जगह हो या जो समझो बिल्डिंगों में नहीं रहते, जो चाली में रहता है या झोपड़पट्टी में रहता है, वो अगर गाड़ी लेना है उसको तो उसको भी गाड़ी ले सकता है। मगर स्थानिक स्वराज्य संस्था जो लोकल कॉर्पोरेशन रहती है, लोकल बॉडी रहती है, उनके पास जो पार्किंग प्लाजा होती है या उन्होंने जो पे एंड पार्क का व्यवस्था किया रहता है अपने विभाग में, उनका अलॉटमेंट लेटर वो अगर हमारे पास सादर करेगा तो ही वो गाड़ी की रजिस्ट्रेशन कर पाएगा। ऐसी हमने विचार किया है और वो हम चीफ मिनिस्टर और डिप्टी चीफ मिनिस्टर से बात करके वो जो चीजें हैं, जो नियमावली है वो सादर करने वाले हैं।
Now, this policy is part of broader efforts to control the projected increase in vehicle population. Now, currently in Maharashtra, there are 3.8 crore vehicles here, and that is expected to go up to 6.8, more than double in the next 6 years. So there's clearly a crisis, and this is an attempt at solving that crisis. But Mumbai's responses are mixed so far. Let's listen into some of the voices.
Mumbaikars are facing traffic issues every day, and you can see in the visuals also. This is an area which is called Lower Parel, an important connectivity, important area in the city of Mumbai. All the main offices are here, IT offices are here, media offices are here. But you can see in the visuals that the cars are parked on the road, making the road narrower. If we, go across to the other side of this particular Senapati Bapat road, which is in Lower Parel area itself. Now this road goes towards Dadar. You can see the traffic congestion at this particular time. So of course this policy, this rules will be a game changer for Mumbaikars is what we can understand as we spoke to a lot of commuters. We'll try and talk to one person over here. Sir, बहुत ज़्यादा ट्रैफिक का इशू होता है, हर रोज हम फंसते हैं। अभी गवर्नमेंट जो है वो सोल्यूशन निकालने वाली है कि जिसके पास पार्किंग के लिए जगह नहीं है वो कार नहीं ले सकता है, उनको पब्लिक पार्किंग में स्लॉट बुक करना पड़ेगा क्योंकि गाड़ियां जो है वो रास्ते पे खड़ी रहती है। ऐसा ही लगता है पार्किंग का इशू बहुत ज्यादा है।
पार्किंग का इशू है, बट अगर इतने पार्किंग से अवेलेबल नहीं है तो फिर ये डिसीजन लेने से पहले भी गवर्नमेंट को सोचना चाहिए।
पर ट्रैफिक का इशू तो काफी ज्यादा है ना, उसको सॉल्व करने के लिए वो डिसीजन ले।
पता नहीं पर इससे कितना फर्क पड़ेगा, क्योंकि लोग तो गाड़ी लेना बंद करने नहीं वाले।
Let's go to my guests who are joining me at this point to try and make sense of it. We have deliberately not tried to keep it a political panel and to get all stakeholders on board. Dr. Neville Mehta is former CEO of Mumbai First. He's someone who's a proud Mumbaiker. Dr. Sudhir Krishnan is former Secretary of the Ministry of Urban Development. Is someone who will help us understand what are the solutions to decluttering our cities. And let me start with Kushan Mitra, who's an automotive journalist. Kushan, thank you so much for joining us. What is your assessment over whether this proposal is feasible to begin with or not? At a time where Indians are buying vehicles more than ever, the affluent ones are buying second or third vehicles in order to ensure that they have the convenience and safety that they want. And even first-time buyers are now buying a vehicle more out of an aspirational or a lifestyle choice rather than strictly a necessity-based choice.
Well, it's a fairly complicated issue. I completely agree with some of the points raised by everybody over here so far. Firstly, there is a parking shortage, not just in Mumbai, but in other major cities as well, like Delhi, where I live, and Bangalore, Pune, everywhere else. And over here, of course, public parking will be a solution. But I might be an automotive journalist, but I also believe that inside cities, you need much improved public transportation. We should not be using private cars on regular commutes all the time. Improved public transportation, as well as areas where people can go park at a station maybe, or park the car at a station, park their motorcycle at a station, and travel to their workplace. That is the need of the hour, because across the world, major cities, whether it's London, Tokyo, New York, people do not use that many cars for commuting. New York, for example, the island of Manhattan just imposed a congestion charge and immediately saw traffic decline. We have to decongest our streets. It's a tragedy every evening when I'm driving home, for example, you see an ambulance carrying somebody and it's unable to go past because there's just so much traffic. Even if people could move, they can't, because there's everybody around you, every single spot is taken. We do need to find solutions. Unfortunately, whenever you have a body that will certify whether you have a parking space or not, it becomes a rent-seeking opportunity for somebody. And how will you know that you have a parking space? In Delhi, for example, every new house that is built now has to have a parking stilt, so people have enough space to park their cars inside their house and not on the streets. That may not be possible in a Mumbai, because Mumbai is far more congested, but if the BMC and other authorities
Exactly.
in Mumbai build public parking spots where people can keep their cars overnight, that may be a solution. It's quite right that cars
Okay.
cannot be the only solution for cities, for commuters. Cars are necessary in India. People like cars. People, of course, you're right when you say cars are aspirational. You're young, you want to have a car. If you live in Mumbai, you want to maybe go out to Lonavala for the weekend, or go down the coast to Alibag or something like that. And why not? But definitely should not always be using your own motor vehicle for commuting, where public transport is an option. Hopefully, with uh, the inauguration of further lines of the Mumbai Metro, that should help in Mumbai. I'm scared when I drive, or even when I use the metro in Delhi. I can sometimes wonder where Delhi would have been without the large-scale Delhi metro. So yeah, we need solutions, and I
the
agree
point
with
which
we should improve our public transportation
No,
desperately.
the point is, and let me get in Dr. Neville Mehta at this point. Dr. Neville Mehta, you are giving us the Mumbai-centric view. A lot of the comparisons that have been made, and even this proposal has also been citing policies which have been going in Singapore, which have been going in Tokyo, which create these kind of artificial barriers in order to get a vehicle unless you have a place to park it. And even in Delhi, before Kushan will also say that there's been principles, this policy which has been suggested about coming up with a congestion tax similar to what a New York or a London has. The point is, our public transport, especially in a city like Mumbai, is nothing compared to the public transport of a London or a New York or a Tokyo or a Singapore, where even the richest or the most elite find it comfortable and also safe to try and convenient to use it for last mile connectivity at this point. We just don't have the public transport to back it up, which is why most people either end up buying cars or end up relying essentially on either Ola and Uber cabs.
So you're absolutely right, Ritangshu. First of all, I think the government is putting the cart before the horse and not the horse. The fact is that the government is responsible for transport and mobility and planned urbanization, which they have failed miserably over the last many years. So I'm not going to say which government in power has failed or which has not failed, but they are all totally and wholly responsible for the state we are in today. Secondly, is you're giving builders permission to plan and build high rises, take in huge buildings without any infrastructure, maybe parking or maybe any other facilities. And the third thing is that you're talking about not bringing your cars, but are you making your place, your streets, what you say, friendly to pedestrians? Just see the encroachment on your footpath. Where does a man walk? How does he walk? And if he is coming to the city and there is this huge rainfall where you have not, taken the liberty to clean your, drainage, and then you have floods, what do you expect that poor man to do? I mean, sit in the floods and wait for some transport to come his way? Because as it is, your BST is struggling to be in place. You have not invested enough money in your mass transport, solutions that were given to you. What you have done is you have sized it in such a way that it is already obsolete. Look at your metros; it's already obsolete. It's already full. I mean, it doesn't even have that type of capacity to move that type of many people. The only thing that you're relying on, and thanks to the British rule, who had the vision of making the railways. Today, that's your lifeline. That's the lifeline of a poor man who's going to work and coming back from work. So why are you creating a problem for us? Why are you legislating our lifestyle? Why are you legislating our choice? Why don't you legislate where you are supposed to be as legislators? Why don't you make a difference there? Why don't you make facilities for people like us and then say, okay, don't bring your cars, from 6 o'clock, it's going to be a no car zone. Or bring your cars and park it in a parking space. Provide us the parking space. Provide us parking lots, community parking lots all over the world. You have parking lots and you can actually book a parking slot when you are actually leaving the house. What is so difficult for the Indian government and the Maharashtra state to do these type of things? But why are you creating problems for a man who's poor fellow trying to live a life when he's already stressed with many other things in life, and now you're creating a problem that he cannot travel? Another thing is, you said that people have a dream. Why not? The Indian government, the Indian economy is now becoming the third economy. You blow your trumpet when you say that, oh, we want to we want to be the number one economy, and you want to kill the dreams of a common person. Why is he not entitled to buy a four-wheeler? Is he not entitled to grow like any others? So how can you legislate that? And on what grounds are you legislating that?
So then, Dr. Sudhir Krishna, what is the solution way out here? Now, we are not for a second saying that there is no merit in the need to look at a way to decongest a city, especially in Mumbai, where even the transport minister pointed out that vehicles are often parked so haphazardly that they come in the way of emergency services like ambulances or fire engines at this point. What is the solution? Because public transport is not going to come up overnight. Improving public transport is possibly a belated action, and it requires a lot more infrastructure, a lot of clearances, and that's going to take some time. How do we navigate a way in which we try and come up with some reasonable curbs on possessing and operating cars without making it unfair?
I think I think this is a very important issue, but the solution which the Minister of Maharashtra has said is reasonable in its own right, yet it should be taken as a part of a holistic approach. By itself, if only one part is implemented on this, it will create a lot of complication because that is not the only problem and that should not be taken as the only solution because there are parking problems are there not only for the new vehicles but even existing vehicles. After all, India has got 35 crore vehicle. You mentioned that Maharashtra has 3.5 crore vehicles. India has 10 times more other cities put together, and lakhs of vehicles are being added every day, every year. So these vehicles are adding all right, but existing vehicles which are there in crores, where are they to be parked? So therefore, I think we should have a parking plan. Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs has got a policy called City Mobility Plan, in which parking plan is also there. So we should plan for the city as a whole. Every city should have an understanding of how many vehicles are plying and where all these will be parked. And accordingly, there should be parking spaces, and parking spaces have to come in a commercial basis. Like you add parking complex with shopping complex, both together, put together. So people, use that area and neighborhood parking also. We should have parking spaces in the neighborhoods also, where you pay a fees and, deposit your car for the while. And the second thing is that public transportation has to improve. World over, people are, even in India also, I find youngsters are not extremely excited about owning a car now. Recent times, the beta generation, as we call them, I find them they are not very excited about cars. I have seen many youngsters who prefer to take a cab because owning a car has a lot of hassles also. You have to take care of insurance, repairs, servicing, and everybody is busy. So if there are options of public transport, I find many people are not very enthusiastic to own a car, much less drive a car. If they have a car also, they don't want to drive around because
I
traffic jam
don't know
takes for a
whether
whole time.
I don't know, Dr. Sudhi Krishna, whether that is necessarily the case at this point here. Maybe Kushan can back me up at this point. After the pandemic, Kushan, just let me know if we have seen a massive spurt in cars being bought in at this point. And not just what we have noticed is from even the category of cars, from the Altos and the Wagonars, which were at one point the number one selling cars, people have moved towards the most selling car in this country is probably a Brezza or a Baleno, which costs about 10 to 12 lakhs at this point. So cars have become a lifestyle choice. And the point is, Kushan, I don't think anyone buying, spending 10 to 12 lakhs on a car is ever going to put off the purchase decision based on having to get an extra certificate. Do you foresee that this will ultimately end up in a system based on Jugaad? It will end up being another formality which will just be ticked, just like the way today we have to get we have to get a fast tag involved, we have to get a MCD parking toll and all those things. Do you think that this will also become a formality and people will somehow find a way to gamify the system and the purpose will be lost?
Yes, people will gamify the system, but as Mr. Krishna said, of course, rules are there. For example, as I said, in Delhi now, many new build houses need to be built on stilts, so parking is already included in that. Um, so people will obviously gamify the system. You're also correct that people are spending more on cars. The average selling price of a car in India has gone up past 10 lakhs right now. People, even though the most popular selling car in 2024 was the Tata Punch, an affordable SUV, right now, due to safety norms, cars are getting more and more expensive.
Yeah.
But again, everybody would like to have their own car parked outside or inside their house. You don't want to park, 50 feet away from your house. The fact is, many areas of urban India were developed in the 1950s and 1960s when people did not even own a scooter. Even a place like Vasant Kunj in New Delhi, huge DDA development, parking is crammed. So you need to build parking structures. The other problem is that people also park willy-nilly on the streets. We have to enforce parking discipline. Across Mumbai, even on Senapati Bapat Marg, people are parking on the streets. Those cars have to be towed away. Thankfully, I believe the Mumbai Traffic Police has been doing that. You can't just block the streets. We have wide roads, but the road is taken up by hawkers, badly parked cars, all of that. We have to get in some discipline as well. People don't want to pay 20 rupees for parking, even in a mall, right? I mean, 20 rupees an
Yeah.
hour. So they have their drivers park outside.
Yeah.
People have to be willing to pay. If you're willing to pay 10 lakhs for a car, you should be willing to pay, some money for parking as well. Parking, owning a car is a privilege. And you should be willing to pay for that privilege, whether it is and pay for parking.
So then, Dr. Neville Mehta, then isn't it also our own responsibility and mindset that needs to change? In a country where a car is seen as a status symbol more than transportation here, often people will not, I'll be honest, I'll be guilty of it at first at this point. People will not want to take public transport purely because A, because of status. Why should we be seen traveling with everyone else? B, I want my privacy. For women, there's also a very legitimate case of safety as well. But at the end of the day, it's also, even if we have decent parking, public transport options available, or maybe if we have to walk an extra mile to park at a proper place, we'll still be a bit hesitant towards it. And that's not a concept which is there in other cities. The same people will go to a London or New York and will be more than happy to use public transport. But when it comes to India, like, nahi, hamari gaadi chhod kar nahi jayenge.
Yes, it's true. In a way that it will be a difficult change for people who are used to this thing of doing what they want and not looking at the holistic picture. But you start enforcing these type of rules rather than going to this archaic rule of saying that you need to have a certificate to buy a car. This is something that you should do last. First, create the infrastructure, get a change management done towards working and talking about it and getting people to start using it. Create those facilities so that people don't crib, don't complain. You're having 2 buses when you have 500 people to transport. What do you expect them to do? Wait for an hour for a bus or an hour and a half for a bus? And that also you're not sure whether you'll get a seat or not.
Yeah.
This is ridiculous. We are arguing in the wrong direction. Why don't we plan our growth? When you want an economy that high in the world, and you're planning like a third world country, like you say, no, I cannot create parking spaces. So what you do is you get a certificate that you have a car park. Now, very soon that certificate will be available at corner or pan shops also. Okay, so let's understand what has happened in the past with India. So what are you legislating? Is this the way you want to legislate? That's my question to the government.
Okay. So it is, well, the government is listening. We did speak to the transport minister. He said that all consultations are being made and all stakeholders will be taken on board. What I'm very clear about is that this has to be a policy which has to also be thought of very well by all people, including us. Because at the end of the day, we are living in cities, whether it be Delhi or Mumbai, where the number one source of pollution is vehicular pollution. The number of cars on the streets have to come down for multiple reasons at this point. How do we achieve that? That remains to be the question going forward. Thank you so much for joining me, Dr. Neville Mehta, Dr. Sudhir Krishna, and also Kushan for this very important discussion. It's time for a short break. The urban debate continues on the other side with me. Stay tuned.